Welcome back to Soul Reaver. Now the time has come to visit the last optional, the last non-mandatory location in the game. And it's one of the locations that we could have visited much earlier, but honestly there was no need for that. And this place is one large throwback to Blood Omen, and also the location of the final glyph, the stone glyph. And it was, by the way, really strange for me as I saw this health power up to have to pick it up, because I could have sworn that I did get it beforehand. But whatever, it's on the way anyway. I apologize if my voice sounds weird, I have a sore throat. Those of you who have played, or seen, or know about Blood Omen know exactly what this place is. This is the Nopraptor's Retreat. Unfortunately, as amazing of a place it is in Blood Omen, as boring and uninteresting it is here in Soul Reaver. Here it is basically a platforming section followed by an incredibly diabolically long and boring block puzzle, all in order to get a glyph that's not even useful. Which is the reason why I was stalling and didn't want to do this place until the very last moment. And that happened. Now this sign is not sign of the retreat, it's not sign of Nopraptor, it doesn't really have one. It's actually the sign of a stone glyph, in case you don't know. Speaking of the sunlight glyph, I used to think that fire glyph is the only useful glyph, but as I played through this game later, and as I record this commentary, I already have the entire game recorded. I found myself using the sunlight glyph a lot more often than I expected to do so. The reason being that it actually covers a lot more of area, and as a result I can kill basically everything that I can't even reach readily. But unfortunately it's very expensive in terms of electric energy. This platforming section is normally a nightmare, as it's completely unfair, especially to a person who plays this on a keyboard. And in my practice run I fell down maybe 5 or 6 times before I managed to get it done. But in this one I get lucky and somehow managed to get everything done on the first try, which is a miracle and is absolutely not a representation of how it usually goes. Normally, at this point, I would have started talking about something connected to the lore, or something that would deal with cut content, but unfortunately I have never really found or seen anything that would be connected to the Nopraptor's Retreat, to this place being in Soul Reaver. Everything is covered in Blood Omen. And as such, honestly, this place is just a boring section of platforming followed by a puzzle. By the worst block puzzle in the game, by the way. And as you can probably hear by this point, once again the sound effects have gone completely haywire, which is not really a bad thing because listening to the sound of a block moving is quite annoying after 10 minutes. And this is probably the most interesting thing here in the retreat. Nobody knows what this mural is. Seems like two people holding together with a bunny looking at them. It is possible to get this health power up right now, but doing that would require me to go through that entire platforming section again to get to the stone glyph altar, which is over here, and I had no desire to do that. This is by far the most unfair of all puzzles in the game, because there's this block which you need to have access to solve the puzzle, and which is completely out of the way. Normally you're not going to even think about getting it. And hilariously, as I'm solving this puzzle, in about a minute I will completely forget that this block is there, and will be walking around this first floor of this section looking for that block. I mentioned the first level. This is because this block puzzle is comprised essentially of two smaller block puzzles, one on each floor, one on each level of this room. At least they're not mixed together, so that's nice. What is not nice is that this place has absolutely no space to flip the blocks, and these columns obstruct the view all the time. Well, I don't really have anything else to rant about here because it's a very long and unfair puzzle. The audio effects are haywire. That's about it. Which is the screwed up audio effects are why I am confused here for a moment, because I never heard the clicking sound when I put the block into place, even though the pattern does match, and for some reason, which is not, or was it the correct one? I don't know, it doesn't matter really. But in any event, I did not hear the clicking sound, and the result I get confused. But I figure it out in the end. Well, if you really want to, feel free to watch this. Others are free to skip. Yeah, as you can see, I forget that the block that I got down is actually a block with a pattern and not a patternless block without any texture on it, which is used to support the actual puzzle solving blocks to just flip them around. Yeah. And the result, I run around having no idea what I'm doing, despite the fact that I have previously solved this puzzle. This was being recorded about an hour after my practice run. I have the memory of a goldfish. Even though it's a myth that goldfishes have no memory. this is the part where I'm confused, because there is no sound effect, even though it's actually supposed to happen. And to add to the confusion, I am actually able to pull the block, which is not what usually happens, or rather is not what happened in the previous block puzzles when the block was finally in place. Normally you were, at least as far as I remember, although I may be wrong, I may be making things up, but as far as I remember, once a block is in place, you're not moving it. Actually, this block puzzle is when we are introduced for the first time to the concept of using blocks in order to be able to move other blocks. This is so fascinating. No, it's not. If you are watching this, why are you doing this? And why? I mean, why and how? Yeah, if you were wondering, most of this video is actually this, just Raziel moving blocks buoyantly. Is that even a word that can be used towards moving blocks? Graciously. Let's go with graciously. Yeah, this is where I check whether I can move the block, well, grab the blocks that are in place, because I did hear the sound effect that time. And yes, I can, at least in this puzzle. Normally I would have been surprised and would have stood still for a second, but by that point I was just so hating this part, and I just wanted to deal with it, to get done with it as soon as possible and then forget about it forever. And then watch through all of it in order to commentate. Because that's easier than trying to sync sound, than trying to synchronize the commentary in the video. I wonder if these concentric circles in the ends of this pattern that we're trying to assemble, whether they are fingerprints or whether they are stylized images of the Spirit Reaver symbol. Yes, there's a cut Reaver, a cut Glyph, Spirit Reaver that are, or that were rather, the symbols of which were spirals. It was basically just a screwed up spiral similar to Raziel's health bar in the final version, but it was screwed and was uneven. Those are probably just some random circles, to be honest. I am overthinking it, definitely. I don't even know by this point what I'm talking about. I think I can safely say that this here is the lowest point of the Let's Play. Yay! Finally, that is out of the way. Stone Glyph creates an earthquake and petrifies enemies without damaging them and without letting you damage them while they're petrified. So basically all this was for a monumentally useless glyph. Now let's go do something useful for a change and actually get that health power up. And now the best thing about this place. If only there wasn't this horrible draw distance. If only. By the way, this broken up part of the skull looks like a crown in the concept art. So maybe it was supposed to be a crown. Maybe, maybe not. And this is what the stone glyph does. To say that this is underwhelming is... Oh, it does let you kill them, I forgot. But still underwhelming. Thank you for watching and I will see you next time. Goodbye.